What would you do if the one person meant to love you unconditionally turned your pain into a punchline? For 16-year-old Ellie, that question wasn't hypothetical, it was the sharp sting of reality, delivered on a cold autumn evening at the threshold of her childhood home. The wind howled outside, rattling the windows, but it was her mother's words that cut deeper than the chill. Ellie stood at the door, her backpack slung over one shoulder, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and hope. She'd run away 3 days ago, chasing a dream that now felt like a childish mistake. But coming back, that was harder. Ellie's mother, Claire, stood in the doorway, arms crossed, her lips curled into a smirk that didn't reach her eyes. "Well, look who's crawling back," she said, her voice dripping with disdain. "What? Did your little adventure not pan out? Thought you'd be a big star by now, didn't you?" The words landed like blows, each one heavier than the last. Ellie's cheeks burned, her fingers tightening around the strap of her bag. She'd left home to audition for a music competition in the city, convinced her voice could carry her to a better life. She'd failed spectacularly, and now here she was, facing the woman who'd always told her she'd never amount to anything. Claire's laughter echoed into the night, sharp and mocking. "You really thought you could just waltz out and make it? You're nothing special, Ellie. Just a dreamer with no talent to back it up." Ellie's throat tightened, her vision blurring with unshed tears. She wanted to scream, to tell her mother she was wrong, but the weight of failure silenced her. She'd poured everything into that audition, every late night practicing, every saved penny for the bus ticket, and still, she'd been sent home with nothing but a rejection slip and a bruised ego. Behind Claire, the warm glow of the living room spilled out, a stark contrast to the coldness of the moment. Ellie's eyes darted past her mother, searching for something semianito anchor her. That's when she saw him, Grandpa Joe, sitting in his old armchair by the fireplace, his weathered hands folded over a book. He'd been quiet, watching the scene unfold, his face unreadable. Ellie's heart sank. Grandpa had always been her rock, the one who'd sneak her extra cookies and tell her stories of his days as a sailor. But now, even he seemed distant, unreachable. Claire stepped closer, her voice lowering to a venomous whisper. "Go on. Tell me how you're going to prove me wrong." "You can't, can you?" Ellie's lips trembled, but no words came. She felt small, smaller than she ever had, standing there under her mother's gaze. The world seemed to shrink to the size of that doorstep, the weight of her mother's judgment crushing her spirit. Then something shifted. Grandpa Joe rose from his chair, slow and deliberate, his cane tapping against the hardwood floor. The sound was steady, like a heartbeat cutting through Claire's tirade. Ellie's eyes flicked to him, and for the first time that night, she saw a spark in his expression, something fierce, something protective. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper, yellowed with age, its edges worn from years of handling. Claire's smirk faltered, her brows knitting together in confusion. "What's that?" she snapped, her voice losing its edge. Grandpa didn't answer her directly. Instead, he looked at Ellie, his eyes soft but resolute. "Ellie, come here," he said, his voice steady as the sea he'd once sailed. Ellie hesitated, then stepped past her mother, her shoes scuffing against the threshold. The warmth of the house enveloped her, but it was Grandpa's presence that felt like home. He handed her the letter, his fingers trembling slightly. "Read it," he said simply. Ellie unfolded the paper, her hands shaking. The handwriting was elegant, looping, faded but legible. It was addressed to Grandpa Joe, dated 30 years ago. As Ellie's eyes scanned the words, her breath caught. It was from her grandmother, Lila, who died before Ellie was born. The letter spoke of love, of dreams, of a young woman who'd wanted to sing but was told she never could. Lila had written about her own mother's cruelty, how she'd been mocked for her passion, how she'd almost given up until Joe believed in her. Lila never got her chance, Grandpa said, his voice thick with emotion. But she made me promise to never let anyone dim a dreamer's light. Especially not yours, Ellie. He turned to Claire, his gaze hardening. Your mother's been wrong before, Claire. She was wrong about Lila, and she's wrong about you. The room fell silent, the only sound the crackle of the fire. Claire's face paled, her mouth opening and closing as if searching for a retort. Ellie clutched the letter, her heart racing. She hadn't known her grandmother, but in those words, she felt a connect Iona's shared struggle, a shared dream. Lila's story wasn't just a relic of the past. It was a mirror, reflecting Ellie's own fight. Then came the twist. A soft knock at the door broke the tension. All three turned, startled. Standing there was Ms. Harper, Ellie's high school music teacher, her coat dusted with early snow. She held a small envelope, her expression a mix of urgency and excitement. Ellie, she said, stepping inside uninvited, I've been trying to find you. The audition panel called me. One of the judges wants to give you a second chance at a private session next week. They said your voice had something special. Ellie's jaw dropped, the letter still clutched in her hand. Claire's eyes widened, her earlier confidence crumbling. Ms. Harper continued, oblivious to the family drama. They saw your potential, Ellie. They just want you to refine a few things. I can help you prepare. The words hung in the air, a lifeline Ellie hadn't expected. She looked at Grandpa, who gave her a small, proud nod, then at her mother, whose expression was unreadable. Claire cleared her throat, her voice quieter now. I didn't know, she said, almost to herself. For the first time, Ellie saw a flicker of something in her mother's eyes: regret, maybe, or shame. It wasn't an apology, not yet, but it was a crack in the wall between them. Ellie didn't know if she could forgive her mother, not after tonight, but the letter in her hand and Ms. Harper's words gave her something she hadn't felt in days: hope. Grandpa placed a hand on Ellie's shoulder. You're stronger than you know, he said softly, and you're not alone. Ellie nodded, tears spilling over at last. She looked down at the letter, at Lila's words, and felt her grandmother's courage seep into her. She wasn't just fighting for herself now, she was carrying a legacy. The night stretched on, but the cold no longer touched Ellie. She had a second chance, a voice that someone believed in, and a letter that reminded her who she was. Claire stepped back, her silence louder than her earlier mockery. Ellie didn't know what the future held, whether she'd ace the audition or face more rejection, but she knew one thing. She'd never let anyone, not even her mother, dim her light again. As Ellie tucked the letter into her pocket, she made a silent promise to Lila, to Grandpa, and to herself. She'd sing, not just for her dreams, but for every dreamer who'd been told they weren't enough. And maybe, just maybe, she'd find a way to heal the wounds between her and her mother, not tonight, but someday. For now, she had a song to prepare and a stage waiting to hear it.